From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here. I'm sure people have told you this. You have a lovely radio voice.
Oh, thank you. I haven't been told that. I hate the sound of my voice, so...
Which makes you a perfect radio person. From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here's Mic Drop, a longer listen to one of our favorite interviews of the week. I'm Dina Temple-Raston. On Tuesday, we took you behind the scenes of Radio Free Europe, a broadcaster that's been a thorn in the side of authoritarian regimes since the Cold War. Today, we take a look at its sister station, Radio Free Asia, and dig into what we can expect if the Trump administration succeeds in silencing it.
I think a lot of mainstream press might see us almost like primary source material.
RFA's reporters have a history of uncovering genocide, war crimes, and disinformation campaigns. They don't just follow the news cycle, they often lead it. And now, they're fighting to survive. Stay with us. Click Here is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. Support for Click Here comes from Quince. And you're probably like me. When the weather warms up, the idea of buying yourself a whole new wardrobe seems like a good one. And then a lot of what you buy ends up in a pile of clothes you never wear. Quince will help break you of that habit. Their pieces are timeless, lightweight, and responsibly manufactured with premium fabrics and finishes. And the best part? Everything on Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find for similar brands because they work directly with top artisans and cut out the middleman. I have a pair of their suede mules. They're water repellent, look expensive but aren't, and the insole is incredibly comfortable from the moment you put them on. They're the perfect slip-ons for the summer. So treat your closet to a little summer glow-up with Quince. Go to quince.com/clickhere for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/clickhere to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/clickhere. I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop.
Radio Free Asia was created after the Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989.
On the streets leading down to the main road to Tiananmen Square, furious people stared in disbelief at the glow in the sky, listening to the sound of shots.
The U.S. watched the Chinese Communist Party gun down its own citizens and then also successfully cover up any knowledge about it afterwards. It wasn't until 1996 that we put out our first broadcast in Mandarin over shortwave into China.
This is Radio Free Asia. The following program is in Chinese.
It was meant to shine a light into dark places, a light that civil society came to depend upon.
The UN actually asked for our reporting in their own research for war crimes tribunals.
This is Bay Fang. She's the president of Radio Free Asia. So tell me about your Burmese service. Wasn't there a cell phone from a junta soldier that was found or something like that?
That's right. A villager picked up a cell phone that was actually dropped by a junta soldier. And it had evidence of atrocities that he had committed. Basically selfies that he took with his, fellow soldiers, with people that they had massacred.
And in her telling, that phone changed everything. Because RFA reporters verified its contents, triangulated its location, and then broke the news.
There had been a massacre in this particular village of Sagang.
It was Radio Free Asia that uncovered the mass detention of Uyghurs by Chinese authorities in Xinjiang. Bay says RFA got that story with old-fashioned shoe leather reporting.
One guy calls hundreds of police stations over the course of a night. And, he now has enough of a name that people actually, will talk to him and tell him about what's happening. He just asked a Communist Party representative in Xinjiang, a local one, what he was being ordered to do. And he said it was, 40% of the adult population that he was supposed to be rounding up and putting into these camps.
This was in 2017. RFA reporters heard from friends and family that people were vanishing.
This is the fraught region of Xinjiang in northwest China. Authorities are promoting the area as a tourist hotspot. At the same time, they're sending local Uyghurs to internment camps.
And when RFA broadcast the details, Beijing officials responded, and they started rounding up the reporters' relatives, too.
It was clear when the relatives were detained that it was because of the reporting that their sons, their daughters, cousins, what these reporters were doing at Radio Free Asia. But they said, we need to be this voice for people who can't speak out. We need people to know about what's happening in our homeland.
And then other media outlets latched on to the news.
And then New York Times and other places picked it up.
Exactly. And
wow.
it ended up with, the first Trump administration declaring it to be a genocide against the Uyghur people. And the Biden administration followed that.
In fact, in 2020, President Trump signed the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act into law. And he even invited Uyghurs to the White House to talk about what was happening to their families.
How long has your father been gone?
He has been in jail for 5 years, and we don't know how long he will still be in there.
A short time later, the Biden administration imposed its own sanctions.
Two different administrations, what we did really changed policy.
When we come back, the COVID cover-up in Wuhan. How RFA reporters pieced together the real death toll when no one else could, and how the work they've been doing may now be coming to an end. Stay with us.
Most of our media are owned by a handful of tech billionaires, but there's one place that still operates like the internet was never invented. On the new season of The Divided Dial from On the Media, we're exploring shortwave radio, where prayer and propaganda coexist with news and conspiracy theories, and where an existential battle for the public airwaves is playing out right now. Listen to On the Media wherever you get your podcasts.
From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here. I'm Dina Temple-Rest. You may not remember, but COVID began as a mystery illness.
Growing concern about a new and rare pneumonia-like virus that has caused at least 2 deaths and has spread from China to other countries in Asia.
We suddenly noticed that there was a surge of, pings, people trying to reach us from inside Wuhan. And this was because they were getting no information from, their own government about what was happening around them. And they knew that something was happening.
The Chinese government was trying to cover something up. Turns out it was COVID deaths.
They reported, a few thousand at the time, and our reporters called the crematories in the Wuhan area and got the numbers of, the numbers of urns that they were putting out, talked to people on the ground, and basically found that the number was 100 times that. And they put that out, and it was, not until a couple weeks later that U.S. intelligence reports actually confirmed that, and it was reported by CNN.
Bay says that Radio Free Asia has had that kind of impact, not just on policy and world events, but in fighting against China's dis and misinformation campaigns. So when the news came that the Trump administration was trying to pull the plug, Bay was surprised.
It was on a Saturday, so I was just at home and, got this email from Kari Lake saying that our grants had been terminated because we no longer effectuate the priorities of the administration.
And so what was the first thing that went through your head?
The first thing that went through my head was, how is it that we don't effectuate the priorities of the administration anymore? When everything I've heard, especially in the national security space in the administration, is that we are very impactful and important. This grant, $60 million, is our annual budget that we're given, and it's peanuts compared with the billions of dollars that China puts in every year into its global media influence campaign.
After the news about ending RFA's funding was announced, the state-owned media in China sent off a flurry of posts.
With, social media posts celebrating this decision. Basically, they are happy because one of the strongest voices that challenges their narrative is gone.
And then, late last month, a temporary reprieve.
A D.C. district judge has ordered the Trump administration to cease attempts to shut down government-funded radio networks.
The court said what press freedom advocates have been arguing for months, that canceling funds already appropriated by Congress, funds earmarked for Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia, and Voice of America, wasn't just unprecedented, it was probably unconstitutional. The Trump administration is expected to appeal, and it's unclear if the unfreezing of funds, which the judge ordered, will arrive in time.
We have to have some resolution. Otherwise, we will have to go into bankruptcy proceedings.
Which begs another question.
So if you furlough someone here, does that mean that they can get deported?
So from the beginning, we made the decision to, first and foremost, try to protect our visa holders that are here. So there are about 35 of them. 14 come from countries where, they would be immediately arrested if they went back. So we are keeping them working and not furloughed because their work visas depend on them having these jobs.
As Bay sees it, if Radio Free Asia stops broadcasting, lots of important news will go uncovered. Not just a mystery virus in Wuhan or detentions in Xinjiang, but more immediate events, like what's going on in the streets of Burma right now.
These are all things that the authoritarian rulers of these countries would like to hide because the Chinese Communist Party is most afraid of is its own people. And for their people to lose the knowledge of what their government is doing, what's happening around them, it's hugely beneficial to the Chinese Communist Party and to all of these authoritarian rulers around Asia.
And the situation for Radio Free Asia has gone from dire to devastating. On May 2nd, RFA told its staff that it was eliminating 280 positions in the United States. That's about 90% of its domestic workforce. And it's also cutting 20 more jobs overseas. Bay Fang called it an unconscionable situation. And it's unclear what will happen next. But a May 6th announcement might provide a clue. Senior presidential advisor Kari Lake, the person who told RFA in an email back in March that their grants had been canceled, said Voice of America, another federally funded broadcaster, would be taking in a new news feed. She said One American News Network, a reliably pro-Trump television channel, would be providing news feeds for Voice of America's foreign audiences at no taxpayer cost. It's unclear whether outlets like Radio Free Europe and RFA will be swept in that move, too. From Recorded Future News, this has been Click Here's Mic Drop. It was written and produced by Megan Dietrich, Sean Powers, Erica Guida, Zach Hirsch, Lucas Riley, and me, Dina Temple-Rest. It was edited by Karen Duffin. We'll be back on Tuesday with an all-new episode of Click Here. Have a great weekend.
If you're looking for a daily guide to cybersecurity news and policy, sign up for the Cyber Daily from Recorded Future News. It serves up the day's most interesting and important cyber stories from our sister publication, The Record, and then aggregates all of the big cyber stories you might have missed from news outlets around the world. Just go to therecord.media and click on Cyber Daily to get all you need to know about the world of cybersecurity right in your inbox.